This point, Basquiat is showing pretty regularly. The price tag of his paintings were going up and up. He was also doing group shows with other street artists like Keith Haring, and he was meeting more and more famous people. From 1983 to 1985, Warhol and Basquiat did a collaboration series of paintings as well. Unfortunately, this series of paintings wasn't actually that well regarded at the time. It got negative criticism, and I think to a lot of people it was the beginning of maybe Basquiat's downfall emotionally. I think he was partly overwhelmed with the amount of success he got very quickly. I think this happened to a lot of our rock stars that we were discussing before too. Um, he really went from 0 to 100 very quickly, and I think that was part of it. And again, being young, 27, but then also working with, in a lot of ways, one of the probably most famous artists of his day, Warhol, and doing a collaboration, how amazing that is, but then yet having that be just not well liked. And I think it was devastating to him. On February 10th, 1985, he appeared on the cover of the New York Times Magazine, a feature titled New Art, New Money, The Making of an American Artist. Uh, so this is, huge. I mean, the fact that this guy from the streets living in Thompson Square Park at one point, doing graffiti around town, is now on the cover of the New York Times Magazine as the rich new hot artist. Um, in spite of all the success, I think he was definitely emotionally unstable, and he had a lot of, I think, things going on. Obviously, his family background, his mom, the institutions. There was a lot of obviously stuff that was personally happening that wasn't no one was really seeing. Started to haunt him and really affect him, and thus heroin. He was a very frequent heroin user, and many of his peers speculated that his heroin use was a way, means to deal with the fame, a part of the emotional, stuff going on with his family. Um, and in the very exploitive nature of the art industry. We've heard that from some of the rock stars, kind of their journeys in the music industry. Um, and I think there was definitely something to do with race. The fact that he was now a very rich black man, and in a world of very rich white men, the art world especially at that time. Um, so following a return trip from Hawaii, he talks to Keith Haring and tells him how he's basically kicked his dependence on drugs, and he was coming out of the fog, if you will. But despite his attempts of sobriety, he died on August 12th, 1988, of a heroin overdose at his art studio on Great Jones Street in Manhattan at the age of 27. Soon after Basquiat died, artist Keith Haring created this painting called Pile of Crowns as a tribute to him. So the 1970s and 1980s were a very significant turning point in the history of street art, because it was a time when young people were really responding to the social political climate all around them, specifically in New York, in creating a movement, which in a lot of ways they were trying to create a battle for meaning, and take just take their own thoughts and just put it out there. And by putting it out there, it meant just putting it on the streets, putting it on the subways. Um, and I think that was, it was also at a time when New York wasn't that, I don't know, it was just kind of allowed in a way. And I don't mean like legally. I mean just saying it was like kind of accepted that you could just see somebody on the street and then they can just like paint. I mean, even though there was a lot of arrests and people were definitely getting put in jail, because of it, but it was still happening, and I think that was definitely a part of the art form that was what made it such a great art form. It was rebellious and it was illegal and it was defiant, and they were trying to put messages out there that were against what was happening, obviously in the world, but also in a way that you weren't supposed to put it out there, on a wall in a public place.